seasonal outlook suggests an increased chance of drier-than-usual conditions through spring, so while things may look greener in many areas, we're still on a bit of a knife's edge. June rainfall provided some well-welcomed relief across much of the region, improving feed availability and supporting winter production. However, conditions remain highly variable. While drought recovery is continuing in some areas, particularly around Orange, Blaney and Cowra, many northerly parts of our region are still in drought categories and will need further rainfall to maintain those recent gains. The key message for producers is to use August as a planning month. Don't wait for spring rainfall to make spring decisions. Take the time now to assess feed reserves and livestock numbers and business risk if conditions become drier. For mixed farming enterprises, now is also the time to assess crop potential. If you're planning to lock cereals up for grain, timing is critical. Ideally, this occurs around growth stage 30, when the stem elongation begins and the developing head is approximately 1 centimetre above the crown. Locking up too late can significantly reduce grain yield potential. If crops have been affected by frost, make sure you do the sums and compare likely gain returns against hay or grazed value before making a decision. For cattle producers, many feeder cattle are now coming off those winter forage crops and preparing for feedlot entry. The biggest opportunity is in preparation. Background cattle where possible, introduce them to hay and bunk feeding, minimise mixing and transport stress, and ensure that vaccination programs are completed well before movement. The key message is simple. Well-prepared, backgrounded, bunk-trained and pre-vaccinated cattle consistently perform better and experience fewer health issues than cattle moved directly from pasture or crop systems. For our breeding enterprises, now is the time to start checking bulls 8 to 10 weeks before joining. Bulls should be in a fat score 3 at joining and should be checked for soundness, mobility and reproductive health. Ideally, you would get bulls vet checked, but as a minimum, palpate the testicles as this can generally pick up 60 to 70% of issues. If joining multiple bulls together, introduce them well before joining begins to establish that social hierarchy and reduce the risk of injury. For sheep producers, flystrike risk is increasing and now is the time to plan ahead for summer parasite management. Think about your paddock rotations, particularly for those weaners, and consider whether strategic use of long-acting drenches fits your operation. Overall, conditions have improved, but recovery does remain fragile. The producers who are best placed for spring will be those making proactive decisions now while they still have options available.